Hi, everybody. How are you doing today? Nice to see you all, and thank you for joining us. I hope you're enjoying your summer and getting a chance to decide what you're going to do with your family. Today, we're talking about an employer who received a medical certificate from their employee that was completed by the medical provider. However, before they were able to hold the interactive meeting to discuss accommodations that the employee was requesting, the employee went out on leave. So the question is, should I ask the provider to complete a new medical certificate or use the previous one? And what would be the best course of action moving forward? How do I address this old certificate? And how do I accommodate her if she's out on leave and not responding to any calls or emails? Okay, so let's just talk at the high level of what we're dealing with here. And we're going to start by showing you the Venn diagram. And always ask yourself, what regulations are we dealing with? Well, we started with a request for an accommodation. And remember, ADA is a work regulation. So that's what we're expecting, is a request for an accommodation to do their job at work, not to take leave. But in this case, the employee actually went out on leave before the interactive meeting occurred. And conceivably and expectedly, the medical certificate now has changed because now they're taking leave. They're not requesting an on-site work accommodation. So the first thing we're going to look at is, are they eligible for FMLA? Because if they're eligible for FMLA, we're looking at a different medical certificate than accommodations under the ADA, because FMLA is the leave regulation. And if you're in California, we've got a California version, and several other states also have their own version of this FMLA regulation, but they don't fundamentally mitigate if the employee has a confirmed serious illness that qualifies under FMLA, they get 12 weeks of leave. Now let's move on to the next step if they, in fact, don't have FMLA. But before we do that, we confirm for you that their certificate we're looking for now is the FMLA medical certificate, because they're actually on leave at this point. Now, if they're not eligible for FMLA, or if they've exhausted their FMLA leave, now we're looking at the American with Disabilities Act. And the American with Disabilities Act requires you to engage in the interactive process to determine whether it's reasonable and not an undue hardship to accommodate the employee on the work site, or if necessary, provide a leave that will allow the employee to perform the essential functions of the job. When we're looking at the ADA, what we're looking at is it reasonable and not an undue hardship to accommodate leave? Now, they're already on leave, so that means they walked out the door, and they should conceivably have some medical certificate they provided for you. But if they didn't, then that's what we're requesting now, and we expect them to give it to us in a timely manner, a minimum, at maximum 2 weeks, the same time frame we use for FMLA. So if we are requesting a ADA medical certificate, we're specifically asking them, how does their medical disability prevent them from coming to work and doing their job at the office every day if they're trying to telecommute? Or how does their disability prevent them from working at all? And if it does, how long? Under the ADA, we need to have medical confirmation that they have a disability, and it's a qualifying disability. It impacts their major life activities, including work, and that we know that they need to be gone for a certain period of time. Now, if you're getting an unknown return to work date as a medical certificate, this is not an ADA accommodation, everybody. We don't accommodate unpredictable, ongoing, as needed leave, because that's a FMLA regulation. And if they've already exhausted their leave under FMLA, do we want to continue to provide them benefits as a full-time employee working part-time because we're accommodating them with this ongoing as-needed intermittent leave or unsubstantiated reason for leave under ADA? And I hope the answer is no, you don't want to be doing that. These light duty return to work programs should have an end date to them, and it should be no more than 1 to 2 months, in my opinion. If you allow extended light duty and modified duty assignments that are basically temporary accommodations under ADA because you are not posting their job, you have to keep their job open for them. That means you're allowing everybody to have light duty, modified duty, even if the department can't handle them being gone, and it's an undue hardship. So this light modified duty assessment is a pretty significant issue if you don't have that nailed down and you're utilizing that to bypass the ADA. because the ADA is going to come up one way or the other if that employee cannot come back to work and perform all the functions of their job. So what we're looking at now then is sending the employee a request to get confirmation as to why they're on leave and how long they'll be on leave. And then, yes, we do engage in the interactive process. We'll do it via Zoom meeting if necessary. We'll send them a laptop and with a box to send it back to us overnight delivery if necessary. But we definitely are not going to have the employee just walk out of the workplace and not confirm that they either have PTO and sick leave available that they're using right now. And if it's for a sick episode, that we've confirmed that it does not or does meet the qualifications under FMLA. And if it does, we're automatically designating FMLA because they're providing us a medical certificate that tells us they need leave for a qualified serious medical condition. If they've exhausted FMLA, with or without workers' comp, we are now looking at ADA. And yes, we need to have a real return to work date if they're on leave. If it's unpredictable, this is not an ADA accommodation, everybody. You might have a personal medical leave that you provide them assistance with and they give them leave with, but you're not going to be doing it under ADA without a predictable return to work date. I hope that helps you out, sort of spell out some of these nuances and see how we're managing the crossover between FMLA, ADA, workers' comp, personal medical leave, and your own STD and LTD policies and your union contracts, because these all impact you. And it does the same with Pregnancy Workers Fairness Act. So these are very significant issues that we want to help you address in an effective way. And underlying everything, everybody, is your safety policy. If at any time you feel somebody will be unsafe in the workplace to themselves or others for whatever reason, you remove them from the workplace. Whether it's paid leave or unpaid leave is a standard operating procedure depending on why they're removed. But this is very important stuff to pay attention to. We've got lots of new regulations coming out throughout the country that put us even more at risk and more on notice that we need to know how to do our jobs. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.